Okay, I am ready to do it. Mark chapter 5, going through the New Testament in chronological order. And we are where Mark likes to find his place, where he stays within his rails, where he stays in his lane, moving from one thing to another. Jesus, the power gospel. Jesus always acting, always doing, always making something happen, miracles and power and one thing after another. That's Mark. So we're in the year 55, so we're saying that's 22 years or so after the resurrection. First gospel written by Mark. He got a lot of his information from Peter. He got a lot of his information from being, there in the city and around the people that it happened to. So here he goes. Chapter 5. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This guy lived out in the graveyard. What do you think was going on with him? This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. This guy was out of control. They tried to tie him up, tried to do all kinds of things. This guy's always breaking away. He'd been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. Found a way to get out of it, just trying to control this madman. Who can control a madman? Who can fix a madman? No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and he would cut himself with stones. This guy is self-destructive. He's screaming out. He's out of control. He's inhabited by demons trying to destroy him. It says the devil came to rob and kill and to destroy. He's trying to destroy this man. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell in front of him. Wow, kind of interesting. Two things are going on with this man. This man definitely has two personalities. He has the personality of the demons, and he has the man. Who was that man before the demons inhabited him and made him crazy? He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." Well, is this two people, one people? Who's doing the speaking? For Jesus said, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." So it was the demon that was talking, probably the man who was kneeling and the demon who's talking. Come out of this man. And Jesus said, "What's your name?" And he said, my name is Legion, for we're many. And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. Well, it seemed like these demons, this is interesting, right? Seems like the demons want to stay in that particular geographical area. Why? You ever think in areas, you go somewhere and it seems like there's some sort of inherent evil that seems to occupy that area, that town, that city, that side of town, whatever it might be. It might be that there's demons that are hanging around there that inhabit a particular region. Seems like that from the book of Ephesians when it says, powers and principalities and, angels and archangels, and good possibility that they arrange over regions. Well, there's a large herd of pigs feeding on a hillside nearby, and the demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs and allow us to go into them." So it seems like demons don't want to be spirits, but they want to inhabit bodies. They are spirits, but they want to inhabit bodies, and they would just assume and inhabit a pig as a person. Jesus gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and they went into pigs. But they drove the pigs crazy. Just like they were driving the man crazy, they drove the pigs crazy. Ever see an animal when you think he's going crazy? The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank of the river. They were drowned, done with, gone. The devil will rob, kill, and destroy it. Rob, kill, and destroy anything. He doesn't care. Those tending the pigs ran off, and they reported in the town, in the countryside, and the people went out to see what happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons. He was sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Jesus restored somebody. I can tell you, my story is not quite this guy's story, but man, I was gone. And so those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and about the pigs as well. And then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave the region. They would get out of here. We don't want you around. The Jewish people weren't supposed to be raising pigs, for one thing. It just was unclean food for them. But this man's salvation, this man's healing, has an economic impact on the community. Because they lost the pigs, which they were not supposed to be raising anyway. And as Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him, but Jesus didn't let him go. He called these other guys and said, "Come and follow me." And this guy wants to follow him, and Jesus said, "No, I don't want you to come." He said, "What I want you to do is go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he's had mercy on you." So this is so amazing, that Jesus doesn't call him into some kind of monastic life or some sort of life as a disciple. He sends him home, and he says, "Go tell your family what happened to you, how the Lord has restored your life." And I think that's the story for most of us. We come to Christ, and then the thing is, go home and tell your family the great things that God has done for you. So the man went away, and he began to tell in the Decapolis, the 10 cities in that area there, how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. All the people were amazed. They heard his story, and they were absolutely amazed. And people hear the stories of many of us, who come to Christ, and they're just absolutely amazed. Those of us who are down in the depths, like this demon-possessed man, and they hear the story, and they're amazed. They hear the story of somebody who's very, very successful and has everything that they want and have, power and prestige and connection, and they come to Christ and they're amazed. Jesus is amazing. When Jesus had again crossed by boat over to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him. The crowds are starting to gather, starting to get bigger. And there was one in the synagogue leaders named Jairus. Jesus would go to synagogue always, was his habit. Came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. The synagogue leader did. Now, he's a leader in the religious community. And he pleaded earnestly with him. He said, "My little daughter is dying. So please just come and put your hands on her, and she'll be healed and live." So Jesus went with the guy. He cared about the little girl, and he cares about this guy. And a large crowd followed and pressed around him. They want to see what's going on here. And a woman who was there, who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet instead of getting better, she got worse. Now, I talk to a lot of people, and I talk to people who tell me that they go to a lot of doctors and they're getting worse and not better. And this lady here, 12 years of this, 12 years of some kind of bleeding condition. And when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind the crowd and she touched his cloak. "If only I can touch him. If I can just touch his clothes, I'll be healed." And immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt it in her body that she was free from her suffering. Jesus realized the power had gone out from him, and he turned around and he said, "Who touched me? Who touched me?" And they said, "You see people crowding against you." Your disciples answered, "And yet you're saying, 'Who touched me?'" And Jesus kept looking around. He wanted to see who did it. And then a woman, knowing what had happened to her, she came and she fell at his feet, trembling with fear. She thought, maybe he's going to be mad. Told him the truth. And he said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." What a great line. While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus. Remember, he's going there. And they said, "Your daughter's dead. Why do you bother the teacher?" Overhearing what he said, Jesus said, "Don't be afraid. Just believe. Just believe." He didn't let anyone follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. And when they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw the commotion with the people crying and wailing. And he went and he said, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child's not dead, but asleep." But they laughed. And then he put them all out. He got rid of them, get rid of this unbelief. He took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him, and he went in where the child was. And he took her by the hand, and he said, Talitha koam, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. And the girl got up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. And he gave strict orders, don't tell anyone about this, but they just went and told everybody anyway. So there's Mark, he's going for it. He's got the three stories, the demon possessed man, the sick lady, and the dead girl. And Mark's going for it. This is Jesus. The kingdom of God is here. Hey, bless you guys. Love you.